He sold too early. My grandfather, 1,979. He'd accumulated 500 ounces of silver over a decade, bought it slowly, patiently, at $6, $7, $8 an ounce. By January 1980, silver hit $49. His stack was worth almost $25,000. He sold, paid off his truck, put a down payment on a vacation cabin, felt like a genius. Here's what haunts me about that decision. If he'd held those 500 ounces, just held them, done nothing, let them sit in that same fireproof safe in his garage, that stack today would be worth about $16,000, less than he sold for. Silver went nowhere for 45 years. But here's what keeps me up at night, and I mean that literally. 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, running the numbers again. If the pattern I'm about to show you completes, that same 500 ounces won't just be worth more than his cabin. It'll be worth more than his house, the cabin, and my parents' house combined. 3 houses, from a stack of metal that fits in a shoebox. And I'm betting everything I have that I'm right. I own 1,200 ounces of physical silver. I've been accumulating since 2019. Bars mostly, some coins, all of it in my possession. And I'm going to show you exactly why I won't sell a single ounce until I can trade it for property. Not because silver is going up. This isn't about price charts or technical analysis or any of that noise. This is about everything priced in, dollars being repriced in something real. And when that repricing happens, a small stack of metal you can carry in a suitcase will buy assets that took families generations to acquire. My neighbor Dave just sold his house for $380,000. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, quiet street. He's moving to Florida, buying a condo, thinks he timed the market perfectly. He doesn't know what I know. And by the end of this video, you will too. But I need to give you a framework first, because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand it, you'll never measure wealth in dollars again. Think of the dollar as a measuring stick. In 1970, that stick was 12 inches long. Today, that same stick is about 1.5 inches. It lost 87% of its length. But here's the crazy part. We still use it to measure everything. Your house didn't go up in value. The ruler got shorter. Your salary didn't really increase. The ruler got shorter. Everything that looks more expensive isn't actually more valuable. The thing we measure with is broken. Now here's the question that changed how I see money completely. What happens when everyone realizes the ruler is broken and they start measuring in something else? That's where silver comes in. And that's where the math gets wild. Let me show you the numbers first. Because this isn't speculation, this isn't hope, this isn't wishful thinking, this is just arithmetic. And arithmetic doesn't lie. Global silver production in 2024, 830 million ounces. That's everything mined from every mine on Earth in a full year. Global silver demand in 2024, 1.2 billion ounces. That's everything needed for industry, technology, investment, jewelry, and monetary demand. That's a deficit of 370 million ounces in a single year. But here's the part that should terrify you. It's not just 1 year. It's 7 consecutive years of deficits, 7 years of using more than we produce. That's 2.1 billion ounces drawn from reserves that took centuries to accumulate. Let me put that in perspective, because numbers that big can feel abstract. Imagine a swimming pool that holds 1 million gallons. Every year, you drain 50,000 gallons more than you add back. After 7 years, you've drained 350,000 gallons. The pool still has water, you can still swim. Everything looks fine on the surface. But anyone watching the waterline knows what's coming. That's silver right now. The pool is draining. And the drain is accelerating. Here's where it gets interesting. Silver isn't just money. And this is what most people miss. This is the critical insight that separates people who understand what's coming from people who don't. Gold is money. Pure and simple. Central banks hold gold. Nations settle debts in gold. But gold doesn't do anything. You can't build a phone with gold. You can't make a solar panel with gold. You can't run a car or power a data center or broadcast a 5G signal with gold. Silver does all of that. Every solar panel needs silver for conductivity. Every electric vehicle uses twice the silver of a traditional car. Every smartphone has silver components. Every missile in every military on Earth contains silver. Every piece of modern technology depends on silver. And here's the problem nobody wants to talk about. Solar panel production alone, just solar panels, will consume 85 to 98% of all known silver reserves by 2050. That's not my projection. That's not some random blogger's guess. That's the University of New South Wales, peer-reviewed academic research published in scientific journals. Not might consume, will consume, because you cannot build functional solar panels without silver paste. There is no substitute material that works at industrial scale. Scientists have been looking for 30 years. Nothing works as well. So we have a metal that's simultaneously money, the original money that civilizations have used for 5,000 years, and the single most critical industrial material in modern technology. And we're running out. Now let me show you what happens when these two forces collide. Because we've seen this movie before, just with a different metal. In 2000, palladium was trading at $450 an ounce. It's used in catalytic converters. Important but not exciting. Russia controlled about 60% of global supply. Then they started delaying shipments, not stopping them completely, just delaying, creating uncertainty about when deliveries would arrive. Industrial users panicked. Auto manufacturers needed palladium for production. They couldn't wait. They started hoarding, building stockpiles just in case. Investors noticed the squeeze. They started buying. Speculative money piled in. 14 months later, palladium hit $1,100. That's 144% in just over a year. And it spiked to $1,340 intraday before Russia finally released supply and broke the squeeze. Now imagine that same scenario, but the supply doesn't come back because it doesn't exist, because there is no Russia sitting on secret stockpiles. That's silver right now, except silver is 100 times more critical than palladium. Palladium is used in one thing, silver is used in everything. And the stockpiles are gone. Let me prove it with numbers that came out this month. COMEX. That's the primary exchange for silver trading in America. Reported 265 million ounces in registered vaults in October 2024. Registered means available for delivery. That's the silver that can actually be converted from paper contract to physical metal. By March 2025, that number dropped to 38 million ounces. That's 85% gone in 5 months. At current delivery rates, at the pace withdrawals are happening right now, those vaults will be completely empty by summer 2025. Think about that. The main exchange for silver trading in the world's largest economy. Empty vaults in a few months. Now, here's the part that scares me. What happens when futures traders demand delivery and there's nothing to deliver? We know what happens. We've seen it before. And it wasn't pretty. January 1980. The Hunt brothers, Nelson and William, Texas oil billionaires, owned 200 million ounces of silver, half physical, half futures contracts. They were demanding delivery, converting paper to metal, and the vaults were emptying fast. Silver hit $49 and was still climbing. The Hunt brothers were about to become the richest men in America. So COMEX did what exchanges always do when they're about to lose. They changed the rules. Mid-game, no warning, no vote, no consultation. January 7th, 1980. They made it illegal to buy silver futures. You could sell your position, you could hold your position, you could not add to your position. Overnight, demand was cut off by regulation. Then, they raised margin requirements to impossible levels. Holding contracts suddenly required 10 times more cash. The Hunt brothers scrambled. They couldn't meet the margins. They started selling. Others panicked and sold. By March, silver collapsed from $49 to $10. The Hunts declared bankruptcy. They lost $1.7 billion in weeks. But here's what nobody remembers about that story. The Hunt brothers lost because they were playing with paper, leverage, futures, contracts, promises. When the rules changed, they had nothing real to stand on. The people holding physical silver, actual metal in their possession. They didn't lose anything. When the dust settled, silver was at $10. That's still 66% higher than where it started before the run. Paper lost, physical won. The same lesson, over and over. Throughout all of financial history, paper promises fail, physical reality wins. And right now, the exact same setup is happening. Except this time, it's not two Texas billionaires against an exchange. It's the entire world. Industrial users who can't stop buying because production lines depend on silver delivery. Ford needs silver for vehicle electronics. Tesla needs silver for batteries and solar roofs. Samsung needs silver for every phone and chip they manufacture. Every solar panel company on Earth needs silver paste, or they don't have a product. These aren't speculators. They're users. They need the metal regardless of price. They'll pay whatever it costs because the alternative is shutting down factories. And then there's the monetary demand. Central banks accumulating, China banning citizens from buying through banks because China is hoarding silver for state reserves. Russia stockpiling for years. India importing record amounts because Indians remember currency crises and don't trust paper. February 2025. 4 of South Korea's largest banks simultaneously suspended silver sales to customers. Not reduced, not limited, suspended indefinitely. These are institutions with unlimited capital and global connections. Banks that can source anything from anywhere. If they can't find silver to sell, what does that tell you about actual availability? The squeeze isn't coming. The squeeze is here, right now. We're living in it. Now, let me show you why this matters for real estate, because that's the comparison that actually matters to regular people. That's the number that changes lives. The median home price in America right now is $420,000. At $32 per ounce, that's 13,125 ounces of silver for a typical house. Sounds like a lot, an impossible amount. But let's look at history. 1,980. Silver at $50, median home price about $65,000. That's 1,300 ounces for a house. Today, silver at $32. Median home price $420,000. That's 13,000 ounces for a house. Silver has lost ground against real estate for 45 years. 10 times more silver required for the same house. That seems like silver failed, like it was a terrible store of value. But here's what people miss, and this is critical. Real estate didn't gain value, it gained dollar price. There's a massive difference. The house is the same physical structure, same square footage, same utility, same function, same wood and drywall and shingles. Nothing changed about the actual asset. The number attached to it changed because the measuring stick changed, because the dollar shrank 87%, because we printed trillions of new dollars and each one became worth less. Real estate looks like it went up. It actually just treaded water against currency debasement. If you adjust for money supply expansion, houses have been flat for decades. Silver, meanwhile, got suppressed, deliberately, systematically, for 40 years. It got buried under mountains of paper derivatives, futures contracts, options, ETFs that may or may not hold actual metal, banks trading paper silver with no intention of ever taking delivery. The paper market controlled the price, and the paper market was designed to keep prices low. But here's the thing about manipulation. It only works when there's enough physical supply to maintain the illusion. When vaults are full, you can play games with paper. When vaults are empty, physics takes over. And physics doesn't care about paper contracts. Physics doesn't care about bank balance sheets. Physics doesn't care about what COMEX says the price should be. Physics only cares about atoms. And the atoms are disappearing. Let me give you the framework for what happens next. It's called the 4-stage revaluation cycle. Every scarce commodity follows this pattern. Every single one throughout history. Stage 1, equilibrium. Supply and demand roughly balance. Prices stay stable. Everyone assumes it will continue forever. Silver was in stage 1 from about 1,990 to 2015. Stage 2. Deficit emerges. Demand grows faster than supply. Stockpiles cover the gap. Prices rise slightly, but nothing alarming. Analysts assume production will increase to meet demand. Silver entered stage 2 in 2016 when deficits started appearing. Stage 3. Stockpile depletion. Years of deficits drain reserves. Vaults empty. Premiums appear. The gap between paper price and physical price widens. Industrial users start hoarding. Investors wake up. Everyone rushes for physical supply at the same time. This is where we are right now. Deep in stage 3. Stage 4. Revaluation. The paper market breaks completely. Trading halts. Contracts default. Prices go parabolic. Physical metal becomes unavailable at any price. And the people holding real metal watch the chaos from safety while paper holders scramble. The evidence that we're in, stage 3, is everywhere. You just have to know where to look. Premiums on physical silver have doubled since 2020. Paper price says $32. Try buying actual metal at $32. You can't. You'll pay $37, $40, $42 for immediate delivery. Some dealers are charging $45 for silver eagles. That's a 40% premium over spot. That spread between paper and physical is the market screaming that the paper price is a lie, and the spread is widening every month. Now here's the scenario that takes silver from $32 to house equivalent value. And I want to be specific because this isn't fantasy. This is just connecting dots. First, the paper market breaks. COMEX vaults hit zero. Futures contracts can't deliver because there's nothing to deliver. They offer cash settlement. Some traders accept. Industrial users reject cash because they need physical metal for production lines that cannot stop. Lawsuits get filed. Trading halts for days, maybe weeks. When it reopens, two prices emerge. The official COMEX price, which is meaningless because you can't actually get metal at that price, and the physical price, which is whatever a dealer with inventory charges. We've seen this divergence before. In 2008, during the financial crisis, paper gold traded at $800. But physical gold coins cost $1,100. That's a 37% premium just to get actual metal. Now imagine that premium expands to 100%, to 200%, to 500%. It's happened before with other commodities in crisis. It will happen with silver. Second, credit markets freeze. And this is the part nobody talks about when they think about real estate. Right now, most people buy houses with mortgages. Banks lend money, buyers borrow, property changes hands. The whole system depends on credit flowing freely. But what happens when banks stop lending? What happens when interest rates hit 12%? What happens when nobody qualifies for a mortgage because debt ratios are impossible? The housing market doesn't crash in price. It freezes in volume. Sellers can't sell because buyers can't buy. Listings sit for months, years. Prices technically hold, but transactions collapse to near zero. That's when alternative exchanges emerge. A seller desperate to relocate. A buyer with physical silver. No bank needed. No mortgage required. No credit check. Direct exchange of real assets for real assets. It sounds extreme. I know. It sounds like apocalypse fantasy. But it's happened before. In living memory, in the post-Soviet collapse, Russian professors sold apartments for cars. A $30,000 car for a $100,000 apartment. Because cars held value that could be used. Rubles didn't. In Argentina, during hyperinflation, provinces issued their own currencies. In Greece, during the debt crisis, locals created barter systems. When legal tender fails, people find workarounds. They always do. And in America, during a silver shortage coinciding with credit freeze, silver coins and bars could become the workaround. Not officially, not legally, but practically. That's when a suitcase of bars becomes worth a house. Not because silver became infinitely valuable, because everything priced in failing currency became infinitely uncertain. Now, let me be completely honest about what could go wrong with this thesis, because I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm telling you what I believe and what I'm betting on personally. But I could be wrong. Mining production could surge, new deposits could be discovered, technology could find a silver substitute that actually works, governments could intervene in ways I can't predict. Demand could collapse if we hit a deep recession, and factories slow down. These are real risks. I'm not dismissing them. But here's my calculation. Silver has been money for 5,000 years. Every civilization that used money used silver. It's not a modern invention. It's not a speculation. It's humanity's longest-running monetary experiment. Paper currencies, by contrast, have an average lifespan of 27 years. Every fiat currency in history has eventually failed. Every single one. The US dollar has been pure fiat, backed by nothing but government promises. Since Nixon closed the gold window in 1971. That's 54 years, double the average lifespan. We're on borrowed time, and you cannot print silver. You cannot create it with policy. You cannot algorithm your way out of a physical shortage. You cannot make more atoms appear because a central banker decides they're needed. Physics wins eventually. It always wins. The biggest argument against everything I just said is this. Silver has been suppressed for 40 years. Banks have manipulated the price forever. Why would it ever change now? It's a fair question. The smartest question a skeptic could ask. Let me answer it directly. Paper manipulation requires physical metal to occasionally deliver. That's what keeps the game credible. When someone demands their futures contract be converted to actual silver, COMEX has to produce the metal. As long as there's enough in the vaults to satisfy occasional delivery requests, the paper game continues. But what happens when the vaults are empty? 38 million ounces registered for delivery. Hundreds of millions of ounces in open interest. Contracts that theoretically could demand delivery. The ratio is 20-1, maybe higher. If even 5% of contract holders demand physical delivery simultaneously, the system breaks. There isn't enough metal to deliver. And here's the thing about manipulation. It works until it doesn't. Then it breaks all at once. not gradually, suddenly. The longer they suppress, the more violent the eventual snapback. Every year of deficit adds pressure. Every million ounces drained from vaults adds pressure. Every industrial user quietly stockpiling adds pressure. The pressure is building on a system designed for a world that no longer exists. A world with surplus silver. That world is gone. Now let me tell you what I'm actually doing with my own money. Because talk is cheap. I want you to know I'm not just making videos, I'm making bets. I own 1,200 ounces of physical silver, bars mostly, some coins, all in my possession. No counterparty, no paper promises, actual metal I can hold. I'm still buying. Every month, another 20 to 30 ounces, regardless of price. Because I'm not trading. I'm accumulating for a revaluation that might take years to complete. Right now, 13,000 ounces buys a median American house. I'm betting that ratio drops dramatically to 3,000 ounces, maybe 1,500, maybe lower if things get really extreme. At 1,500 ounces per house, my stack buys a property outright. No mortgage, no bank, no credit check, direct exchange of real wealth for real property. That's not getting rich. That's surviving a monetary transition. That's being on the right side of a revaluation that happens once every few generations. My grandfather sold too early. He got a truck and a cabin. He could have had generational wealth if he'd just waited, if he'd just held. I'm not making the same mistake. Here's what you should consider doing. Not financial advice, just what makes sense to me. First, stop thinking of silver as an investment. Think of it as insurance. You're not buying for returns. You're buying for protection against a monetary system that's showing cracks everywhere. Second, accumulate physical metal. Not ETFs, not mining stocks, not paper promises. Actual bars and coins in your possession. American Silver Eagles, Canadian Maple Leafs. 100-ounce bars from recognized mints. Things that anyone anywhere will recognize and accept. Third, scale appropriately. If you have $100,000 in total assets, maybe put $10,000 into silver, maybe $15,000. This isn't about going all in. It's about having enough that if the revaluation happens, you're positioned, but not so much that if I'm wrong, you're destroyed. Fourth, store properly. Home safe if you're comfortable with security, bank safety deposit box if you trust banks, private vault if you want third-party security with access. The key is you control the metal. No counterparty risk. Fifth, wait patiently. This isn't a trade, it's a position. It could take 2 years, could take 5, could take 10. The math is inevitable, the timing is not. The window is still open right now. You can still buy silver at reasonable premiums. You can still get delivery in weeks instead of months. You can still convert dollars to metal without restrictions or rationing. That window is closing. The vaults are draining. The deficits are accelerating. The math is already decided. My grandfather didn't have this information. He didn't have access to COMEX vault data. He didn't have researchers publishing supply projections. He made a reasonable decision with the information available in 1979. You have the information, right now, in front of you. The question is, what you do with it. Now I want to hear from you. At what silver to house ratio would you actually start buying property? Would you pull the trigger at 5,000 ounces, 2,000 ounces, 1,000? Drop your number in the comments. I'm genuinely curious where people see this going, and I read every single response. If this analysis made sense to you, I put together a silver to real estate calculator. Plug in your current ounces. See what they could buy at different ratio scenarios. The math might surprise you. Link in the description. No affiliate links. No products to sell, just math. Hit subscribe right now, because the silver shortage is one symptom of a much larger monetary crisis unfolding in real time. In the next video, I'm breaking down the 3 other critical commodities following the exact same depletion pattern. The resources the modern world literally cannot function without. The supplies that are vanishing from warehouses right now, and the revaluations that will reshape wealth distribution in America over the next decade. You'll want to see that before everyone else does. The clock is ticking, the vaults are emptying, and the people who see patterns early, they don't just survive what's coming. They position themselves to acquire what everyone else will be fighting for. I'll see you in the next one.